This is Old McDonald's, the original McDonald's from 1968. This place looks just like the old Mickey Mouse Club, but it's even more magical because they have a working glockenspiel. There's also this guy, Ronald McDonald, who was the original mascot before we all got sick of him and he started robbing fast food restaurants. But you didn't hear that last part. And then there's also this guy, Grimace. He's Grimace. He wasn't always purple. He used to be this. And if you want to see what happened, you can click on the top right corner where it says subscribe. It's completely free. Or you could just watch the whole video without subscribing. Up to you. In the late 1940s, McDonald's founder Ray Kroc realized that children were the most profitable demographic in the entire world. That's why he bought the rights to this cartoon, which he would then use as promotional material for years to come. One day while flipping hamburgers in his restaurant, Ray Kroc had an epiphany. What if instead of only selling burgers to kids? What if I made the burgers into little singing cartoon characters? He ran with this idea, secured funding and created a world where hamburgers sang and danced. Well, not really, but he did hire a company to make these fun novelty records for kids. These records featured songs about everything from fractions to proper dining etiquette. And while they may seem silly to us now, they were a huge hit at the time. In fact, one of their most popular albums sold over 2 million copies. But one song in particular stood out among the rest. A song so catchy, so unforgettable, it's still stuck in your head right now, even though you've never heard it before. That's right. Today we're gonna do a deep dive into the history of Old McDonald's, the song, the album and the phenomenon behind it. But first, if you'd like to support the channel, consider picking up some merch. I promise it will make me very happy. Now let's begin. It all started with this record album called The Happy Chef. Released in 1967 by Dot Records, this album was part of a series aimed at teaching children about different topics through music. Old MacDonald was the 6th track on the album. The song starts off simple enough with the main character living on a farm with various animals. Then suddenly, an unexpected visitor arrives, disrupting the peaceful atmosphere. To make matters worse, this visitor has a terrible attitude and refuses to participate in any activities. Despite this setback, Old MacDonald remains cheerful and continues enjoying his farm life. The lyrics describe the sounds each animal makes as well as their contributions to the farm. For example, the ducks say quack, quack, the chickens say cluck, cluck, the horses say neigh, neigh, and the pigs say oink, oink. All these animals work together to help Old MacDonald run his farm successfully. As the song progresses, the farm's productivity increases with the animals providing milk, eggs, and wool for sale at the market. Old MacDonald's farm becomes a thriving business thanks to the hard work and dedication of its animal employees. By the time the song was released, it had already been covered by everyone under the sun. So if you're wondering who originally recorded Old MacDonald, the answer is no one. It's been around forever. But the version you probably know best is by the Irish folk band The Dubliners. Their recording of Old MacDonald reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and stayed there for 13 weeks. Not bad for a song about farm animals. But despite its popularity, Old MacDonald almost didn't make it onto the album. In fact, the band's manager hated the song so much he tried to get them to change it. But the band refused, saying they liked the song just the way it was. Good thing too, because it became their signature tune. And then there's the other version, the one you probably know best, the McDonald's version. This version was released in 1978 as a single and was later included on the McDonaldland album. But even though it's shorter and slower than the Dubliners version, it's arguably more iconic. After all, it is synonymous with the fast food giant McDonald's and has appeared in countless commercials and promotional materials over the years. Plus, it's impossible not to sing along when Ronald McDonald breaks into his signature dance. Even though both versions are great, I'll let you decide which one's better. Which version do you think is better? The Dubliners version or the McDonald's version? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe. It's completely free. Now let's get back to the video. So after Old MacDonald blew up, McDonald's decided to capitalize on the craze and turn the song into a full-fledged attraction. They created something called the Old MacDonald's Musical Farm Adventure, basically a glorified stage show where the audience could interact with the characters and sing along to the classic tune. The show was designed to appeal to families and young children with its catchy music and engaging storyline. In fact, it was so popular that McDonald's kept performing it for decades. From 1978 to 1990, the show was performed at least once a year in McDonald's restaurants across the country. During this show, costumed performers dressed as farm animals would dance and sing while riding animatronic horses. The animals included a cow, a pig, a sheep and a chicken. The goal was to teach kids about farm life and the importance of hard work. But as the years went on, the show evolved to include new characters and updated sets. For example, in the 1980s, they added a character named Tina Turtle who taught kids about recycling. They also put on special performances for the holidays like Christmas and Easter. But no matter what holiday it was, one thing remained constant: the iconic song Old MacDonald. The show was more than just a marketing gimmick. It was a genuine attempt to provide families with a fun, educational experience. After all, McDonald's had always been involved in charitable causes, and they saw this as a way to give back to the community. For many children, attending the Old MacDonald's Musical Farm Adventure was a highlight of their year. They would dress up in their finest clothes, meet their favorite characters, and sing along to the timeless tunes. The show had such an impact that some people even collected memorabilia from the event. They saved programs, photographs, and even autograph records from the performers. The show eventually came to an end in 1990 due to declining attendance. But the legacy of the Old MacDonald's Musical Farm Adventure lives on in the hearts and minds of those who attended. Many adults now share their memories online and reminisce about the simpler times when McDonald's put on free shows for families. Speaking of which, it turns out McDonald's hasn't stopped with just one show. No. Throughout the years, they've put on several more shows. For example, there was Happy Wheels, which was performed from 1976 to 1984. It featured costumed characters riding around on giant exercise wheels, singing songs about health and fitness. There was also the McDonald's Christmas Show, which debuted in 1978 and ran for 10 years. It featured Santa Claus, Ronald McDonald, and other characters performing Christmas carols and holiday classics. And then there was Where the Wild Things Are, based on Maurice Sendak's book of the same name. This show premiered in 1992 and followed Max as he sails away to an island inhabited by furry monster creatures who make him their king. Other notable shows include Brigadoon, a musical set in a mythical Scottish village, The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy and her friends travel to Oz to meet the wizard and return home, and Disney's The Rescuers, where two mice must rescue a doll named Penny from a villainous woman named Madame Medusa. But even though all these shows sound fun, they weren't exactly cheap to put on. The costumes alone for Where the Wild Things Are cost over $1 million to make, and each performance required a crew of over 20 people. Plus, since McDonald's wanted to reach as many kids as possible, they would often perform multiple shows a day in different locations. This meant that by the end of the tour, the company would have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars just on production costs. And that is not counting the money they lost out on from not being able to sell food during the show. But despite the high expenses, McDonald's was determined to make their shows as good as they could be. They hired professional actors and directors, and even held auditions for some of the parts. For example, in 1985, they held nationwide auditions to find someone to play Princess Diana in The Sound of Music. But even with all their effort, the shows weren't always successful. Some of them, like Brigadoon, didn't stick around for very long, and others, like Where the Wild Things Are, weren't very profitable. But no matter how well or poorly the shows did, one thing remained clear: McDonald's had a passion for entertaining kids and making them smile. It might not have been easy to fit an entire musical into a restaurant, but they never let that stop them from trying. They understood that kids needed a place to go where they could forget about their problems and just have fun. And what better place than at McDonald's? Today, the McDonald's Corporation is one of the largest private landowners in the United States. They own over 18,000 properties across the country. But their real estate holdings are a closely guarded secret. The company won't say where exactly their restaurants are located or how much they paid for them. And that's because McDonald's is afraid of copycats. They do want other fast food chains knowing where they buy their property, because then they could swoop in and buy the same locations. That way, McDonald's would be forced to compete with themselves. And trust me, they don't want that. They've tried everything to keep their real estate secrets safeguarded. For example, they use complicated LLCs to buy their properties. This way, no one knows who really owns the building until it's too late. They've also been known to pay millions of dollars over asking price just to keep other chains out. For example, in 2016, they paid $3.8 million for a McDonald's in New York City, even though the asking price was only $1.4 million. That works out to be $200,000 per square foot. That's insane. But they don't care because it's worth it to them. That's why if you ever tried to look up where your local McDonald's is, you'll never find it. The address won't exist. That's because McDonald's keeps their locations a secret from the public. They don't want anyone knowing where they are, let alone how much they paid for them. That way, no one could ever take advantage of them. Or could they? So if you want to learn more about how these companies work, stay tuned.